Il y a vraiment des super panélistes à venir dans cette dernière session. Je m'appelle Craig Sauvé, je suis conseiller de ville à Montréal, avec la partie Projet Montréal, la partie progressiste écologiste. Merci beaucoup. Je suis très heureux d'être ici pour modérer une discussion, les vraies critiques, wise or reply. Répliquer face aux injustices, la lutte lorsqu'elle est nécessaire, voilà est un thème dont il est question toute la journée. Après ce groupe de discussion, vous aurez la chance d'explorer un groupe de discussion toutes les façons dont vous pouvez riposter et créer le mode socialement et écologiquement équitable que nous voulons. Boy, do we Millenials have a reason to fight. Up to 39% of Canadians between the ages of 15 and 19 are precariously employed. On top of that, the employment rate amongst youth aged 15 to 24 continues to stay steady at almost double the national average. Add to that systemic racism and oppression that many young people face in our workplaces, on our campuses, and on our streets. Y ajouter à cela les droits des scolarités et des dettes étudiantes, les stages non payés pour accumuler de l'expérience de travail et le coût élevé de l'hébergement et des frais de garderie. Pas surprenant que les jeunes soient désespérés. Notre génération a fait tout ce qu'ils ont lui demandé de faire, mais au lieu d'avancer, nous continuons à accuser un retard de plus en plus grand. In the face of such challenges, we have incredible leaders challenging the systems that are holding us back. So let's hear from them about the struggles that they are leading and how we can come together as allies in solidarity to achieve the justice we do deserve. And with that, it's a great pleasure to introduce our first speaker of this panel, Hashim Yussuf. Hashim, we'll do the applause when he comes up. Please do applaud. Really inspiring people coming up. Hashim was raised in the Rexdale neighborhood of Toronto and grew up in a heavily policed Somali community, which informed his activism as an adult. Hashim is a member of the steering committee of Black Lives Matter Toronto, and he's currently finishing up his undergraduate degree in criminology at the University of Toronto. We welcome him.
Hi again, thank you everyone for having me. My name is Hashim Yussuf. I'm not the best at giving speeches, so please bear with me. So, Black workers today face a really tough reality when it comes to Canadian society. We face so many different struggles when it comes to finding work that is not precarious in nature. It starts out with the fact that because of years of institutional anti-Black racism within Canadian society, many Black Canadians are still living near or under the poverty line. Because of this, many are forced to take up private employment, reason being it's the only thing that's accessible to us right now. The continued exploitation of Black workers and the justification to maintain control over our labor is a foundational practice to this imperial settler colonial project. All these other jobs that have better pay, better benefits, sick days, etc., are out of our reach, especially when they require years of experience and post-secondary education. Precarious work, or lack of work itself for Black Canadians has many different reasons. One of them is our lack of access to post-secondary education. Earlier on today, Bill and Communicating Federation students touched on this issue. Now I'm just going to whip it down a little bit. People who are at the margins of poverty cannot afford to take on more debt. They cannot afford to pay hundreds of dollars in textbook fees every single semester. They cannot afford the absurd amount of fees that they have to pay that come up throughout the years of post-secondary education. There are a myriad of other different problems and barriers that affect our residents. Another issue is the constant criminalization of Black people. Meaning when we are routinely put through the criminal justice system over and over and over again for things that we did not commit, things that are not credible. Then you go out to apply for different jobs and you're turned down because you have a criminal record. Then you're forced to go to temporary agencies who only have precarious or under the table work that is dangerous in nature, does not pay well, and there's always a risk of getting fired. So tell me, what is there to do after that? What options do we have? Combine institutional racism, the keeping of Black people in poverty, the next to nothing access to education that we have, and the constant criminalization that we face. What is there to do? Here's an example. So my cousin's been trying to find a good paying job for a while now. He's got a family visa. He got into university a while back ago, but he has to drop out because of high fees that he has to pay, and the fact that his loans did not cover all of his fees. As has in many instances that he's been brutalized by the justice system for acts that he did not commit. He has a criminal record. No workplace is going to hire him. No temporary agencies are going to hire him. Now he's stuck taking on short-term, under-the-table jobs where there's no guarantee whether it will be paid on time, and is constantly working with dangerous environments. Something else that I want to touch on is the intersection of capitalism and racism, and how they're always intrinsically linked together. The disparities in income when compared to other different parties is a fact of capitalism. Institutional racism is really embedded in our society. Every inch of fabric that moves through this economy and our society has strands of racism. We saturate itself deeply within this world and it permeates our daily lives. Our society is structured to subordinate certain groups of people and to privilege other groups of people. Slavery itself was a product of capitalism. This practice of bringing over independent black people from Africa to come here and work as slaves was all for the betterment of the economy. This practice has had a lot of lasting effects on black people, and we still feel it to this day. It was as if a bone-shattering earthquake of capitalism and racism came together and rocked our people to the core, and to this day we're still feeling those aftershocks. Black people are still being exploited by this capitalist system. When it comes to workers' rights, when it comes to fair wages, when it comes to possibly getting a job, none of the standards that apply to everyone else applies to us. This also includes the stuff about the migrant worker program. This is, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, is modern history. It really is. The work that we do as Black Lives Matter Toronto connects with these different issues. When we challenge institutional racism within the justice system, we are trying to make changes that will help black people get better livelihoods. When we create space for black students on campus to have a better experience, we're creating a better chance for them to receive a post-secondary education. All these different issues of oppression are always interconnected. When you bring in black speakers, pay them. When you bring in black artists, pay them. And when you do this work, never forget about intersectionality. There's a difference between paying a lip service to every work and actually putting in the required thought and effort. Support black women, support black trans women. Always try to uplift the most marginalized, because when you do, you'll get everyone help with all the long way. But we still have a long way to go because the current situation we're in is completely unacceptable. The thing is, the system isn't built for our failure and the success of others. We need complete overhaul, not reform. We need to create a system where we're not criminalized for things we didn't do, where our children are not put into foster care because of the color of their skin, where we have access to receive a proper education, and where we are not killed for our blackness. We should have the right to all these different kinds of things and the right to find meaningful employment. We're going to leave you with something that we always chant at our rallies and events. The system isn't broken, it was built this way. The system isn't broken, it was built this way. If you didn't hear me, the system is not broken, it was built this way.
Nakitsas. Stephanie has worked as a campaigns organizer, communications freelancer, for a program coordinator, and contract teacher. She's helped found the Urban Worker Project to give a stronger voice to the growing number of independent workers across the country. When she's not working, she's volunteering for her neighbor's pop-up shop program, or hanging out with her partner and 3-year-old daughter. Welcome, Stephanie.
It's really great to be here today, and I wanted to say a huge thank you to Nikki and her team for pulling together all these everyone who's here, all the inspiring people who are doing amazing work across the country. With my couple of minutes, I wanted to talk to you about three things. I wanted to share with you some of the stories of the activists who are the workers who make up our movement and what life is like for them working in the new economy. I wanted to share with you a little bit more about the Urban Worker Project and what we're trying to do. And I wanted to talk to you about the opportunities I see right now for organizing, both within the labor movement and outside of the labor movement. So we started the Urban Worker Project back in April of this year to give a stronger voice to the growing number of freelancers, contract workers, part-time workers, self-employed people, and everyone who's working outside of the traditional employee-employer relationship. Because we know from the stats and data that over 50% of new jobs are being created in this temporary way. And that means more and more of us are working in a situation where we don't have access to benefits, We have no job security, where we're working multiple different jobs, and in different jobs, month to month, or even week to week. And that means that many of us don't even have bosses in the traditional sense. And we know that some people are doing this by choice, but we know that most people are doing it out of necessity, and that this type of work is affecting women and racialized workers and workers with disability at a much higher rate. So most of these jobs mean that one of the big changes with how work is happening mean that people are working more and more from their home, from coffee shops, from co-working spaces, in all different places. And they don't have, not only do they not have those income security measures that I talked about, but they also are sometimes feeling very alone in what they're going through. And we've heard that over and over, that people are experiencing a sense of isolation, and they didn't ask for this, and they don't have the physical supports or emotional supports that they need in their workplace. And so that's the big picture, and often we stop at this big picture when we're talking about precarious work, or when we're talking about, when people talk about it even in the positive way, they talk about the gig economy or the sharing economy, and we don't ever talk about what it's like to be a worker in this new economy. And I think it's so cool that that's what we're talking about here today, and I think that it's so important to actually think about everyone, make sure that we are remembering that everyone that's working right now is a worker. And yeah, so that brings me to the fact that I think there are a lot of misconceptions about a lot of workers and what work is like for people these days. Like, if you're to go by, I use the example of a coffee shop, and you see someone who's on a MacBook and they're dressed like me, or they're dressed like one of us here, then it's really easy to think that they're doing okay. But what's often hidden is the fact that they have $30,000 worth of debt, or that they're a parent like I am, and we don't have a national child care program like Julie said, or access. I think only 40% of people outside of Quebec have access to parental leave, and so people are often trying to figure out what work they can access while they take care of their kids, or that we're spending the majority of our income on housing, or that we might be supporting parents who are in temporary or precarious jobs themselves. And all these struggles are even more stressful when you're working on contracts and you don't know what your income is going to be this month. So I wanted to touch quickly on a couple of stories of the people who have joined our movement and why they have joined. So Annabelle is one of the first people to sign up, and he is in his late 30s, and him and his partner are both self-employed. He works in construction, which many people think of as unionized, but he builds props for film sets, and he does constructions in bars and houses, and that means that he is a contract worker, and that means that even though he works like the way we'd see, like he's working every single day, he doesn't qualify for basic protections under our employment law in Ontario. And if he got hurt on the job, where the risk is really high that that will happen because of the work he does, he wouldn't qualify for WSIB. And he also has only had access, he's in his late 30s, so he's been working at least 20 years, and he's only had access to benefits for 3 months. So that's why he joined the Urban Worker Project. Joan is someone who moved to Toronto to go to art school, and she graduated about 5 years ago, and it's been really hard for her to find full-time work. And so she's worked on contracts over the last number of years in the nonprofit sector and arts and culture sector, which are both notorious for working this way. And well, she's someone who loves doing this creative work, and she doesn't even mind the change of like having this flexibility or trying these different jobs, but it's really unfair that she doesn't have a guarantee of when she gets paid. She has no guarantee to get paid on time, and her only recourse if she doesn't would be to go to take someone to court, and we all know that that's really hard for most workers to do. So she joined the project so that we can fight for the same protection for contract workers under the law as full-time workers have. Samantha is the last person I want to talk to you about. She's a single mom, and she is in her early 40s, and for a long time she worked for a cleaning company, And then when she had her kids in school, she wanted to be able to take them to school in the morning and pick them up. And part of that is choice, but part of that is also that she had to do that because of the availability or the lack of availability of childcare. And so she likes that she can set her schedule, but her finances are also dependent on the finances of her clients. And she told us that if the finances of her clients change, then her service is the first to go. And that means she has no retirement savings and no safety net under our current structure. So what do we do with this? I think, like so many people have said today, there is not one solution. We really need to update all our laws and policies to make sure that they fit the reality of work today. And because many of our laws were created in the 60s when everyone was working, or when, well, we know that not everyone was working 9 to 5, because that's just, that was a certain part of the population. But when more people were working that way, and when we had, and when we, like all our laws were predicated that way. So we need to make sure that we build a framework that supports people who are working this way so that we can have access to health and dental benefits no matter what job you're working, so that we can have income security, so that we have a guarantee that people are going to get paid on time. And so what we're trying to do with the Urban Worker Project is to build, to reach out to independent workers both online and where they're at. So whether that's in co-working shops, in coffee shops, in community centers all across cities across Canada, and we're coming together to fight for these changes. And so one huge opportunity we have right now in Ontario is this changing workplace review, where we're looking at our laws and how they need to change. And what we're calling for from the Urban Worker Project is two big things. One, we want to make sure that all contract workers have access to the same pay and benefits as anyone else who's hired by that same company as a full-time employee. And then we also want to see the creation of a dependent contractor category under the law. Because right now, if you're self-employed or you're on contract, you have zero protections. You're completely not covered by the law. And so we want to make sure that we broaden the category of who's covered, and that would lead to there being less misclassification of contract workers too. So, yeah, so you can check that, you can sign our petition online at urbanworker.ca, and that's the first step. But really, what we need to do together is to figure out how we can come together to fight for greater income security, greater access to health and dental benefits, greater access to mat leave for everyone, and all these things that should be rights and aren't right now. I'm, like many people here, I'm really optimistic about the possibility for us to win this stuff. When I started working on these issues, like I went to school studying precarious work in women 10 years ago, and most people didn't recognize what the word precarious work was. And when I worked as a campaigner and an organizer working to put in the first legislations for unpaid interns, that these things were all new ideas. And here now we have this common understanding, and we have common ideas of what we want to do. And so I'm really excited to hear about all the work that people are doing and the solutions, and then to leave here and go forward and try to make those changes. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Our next speaker now is Rekash Walters. Rekash is an activist, community organizer, and communication strategist. Rekash is one of the founders of the Edmonton chapter of Black Lives Matter and the founder of Bread and Roses. She works in communication and education for the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees. Welcome, Rekash.
Does this work? Oh, there we go. Hey friends, thank you for having me. My name is Rekash, and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. Is there anyone else here from Edmonton? Shout out. Nice. 2 whole people. Okay, well, I consider myself politically progressive. I consider myself left of center, which, as those 2 other people might also know, is not a super easy thing to be in Alberta. I have a little example for you. I went to an event, I'm going to try not to say any names. So I went to an event, and the point of this event and this initiative is to get more women and different folks involved in politics. There was a woman who was speaking, and she was mayor of her small town in rural Alberta. She gave her speech, and one of the questions that was given to her was, how can we get more diverse folks elected towards the City Council in Edmonton? So for those of you who might know, our City Council in Edmonton is comprised of all white men and 1 woman. So her response was, what do you mean? I think Edmonton City Council is really diverse. We have older men, younger men, kids, men out. I swear that was true. So this is the kind of context that I'm working in. From 2006 to 2015, there was only 1 non-conservative member of parliament in all of Alberta, and that was the amazing Linda Duncan. So. And provincially, the Progressive Conservatives ran our government in Alberta for about 44 years until the 2015 historic election. And when people think Alberta, they think conservative, and for me, that's part of the problem. Why? Because conservative governments on the provincial and federal level have consistently displayed a deep lack of respect for working people. And prioritizing working people is at the heart of my politics. Call me self-centered, but I want progressive people like me representing progressive ideals on all levels of government. So I did the most obvious thing, right? I ran for office myself. I actually don't think that was the most obvious thing at all. And as a 21-year-old woman of color, it's not what most people would do. But I really didn't see people like me doing it. In fact, during my campaign, we learned that Alberta has never in our history elected a Black woman to be a member of parliament, ever. Maybe it's not surprising, but it's super, super disappointing. Imagine being a young Black woman and seeing that actually no one's ever done that before. You're 13, you're 14, and it's something that you want to do, but no one's ever done it before, so why would I be able to, right? My campaign was a lot of fun, though. We had people of all backgrounds, of all ages, door knocking, and phone canvassing. We were active online with videos and tweets, and the obligatory daily selfies that we now see on campaigns. We even had t-shirts. Word spread of our campaign across the country. A friend of mine landed in Toronto, and she got in a cab, and the cab driver said, "Hey, where are you from?" She said, "I'm from Alberta." And the first thing he said was, "Hey, isn't that a Black girl running downtown?" Let me be honest though, behind all of the slickly designed campaign materials and organized mail drops, we kind of had no idea what we were doing. And I thought we were unique in that. Many of my team members had never knocked on a door in their lives. And those of us who maybe had a few years of experience, we never actually run a campaign before. But after talking to a lot of folks after the federal campaign, and the provincial campaign, I realized that a lot of people felt the same way. It's not that we don't have the experience and knowledge in our communities, it's just that we were doing a really poor job of sharing it. So earlier this year, I decided to do something about that with my co-organizer, Jen Foster. I decided to create a campaign school that I wish I had attended before I ran. It's called Red and Roses, the fundamentals of feminist political organizing. It's an all-day campaign school for women and non-binary folks to share knowledge and share the tools that we've collected, but we've collected them individually. And hopefully, I'm hoping to empower those people to take leadership positions in important campaigns. I invited many of the highly experienced women and non-binary folk that I knew to design workshops in their area of expertise. We have a workshop on Campaign 101 from Erica Bullwinkle, who is the heart of progressive organizing and the heart of the Nakitsas campaign in Alberta. And we also have other workshops, like how to design an anti-oppressive, anti-racist campaign office from scratch, how to run your campaign, how to storytell, how to be a feminist on social media. We even have a panel that I'm really excited about called Effed Up Things That Happen to Good People. And it's featuring amazing folks who've gone through really amazingly horrible things on their campaigns. We don't want anyone to be surprised. Getting involved in politics and running a campaign is not a super friendly experience. This is something that I think is special about our campaign. It's even in our title. We are unapologetic about being feminist. We are unapologetic about being progressive. We're not tiptoeing around the terms that make people uncomfortable, because those are the types of people that we want to attract to it, and those are the type of people that we want running. It's a space that's by women and for women, because the knowledge we need already exists within our communities. And it's completely sold out. It's sold out because, at least in Alberta, we need this. For too long, good people have been shut out of politics and shunned from their seat at the table just because they didn't have access to the strategies and knowledge that you need. Meanwhile, this knowledge is often very smoothly transferred from white man to white man to white man to white man across generations while excluding everyone else. And not a lot of people will jump first into a campaign the way I did, and I definitely don't blame them. Young feminists are doing amazing things everywhere I look. These are the folks that we need writing legislation. These are the folks that we need leading our governments, and these are the folks that we need with a seat at the table. So I encourage you to be intentional. If you have the knowledge, share it, reach out, find someone, and give it to them. And if you need the knowledge, if you know that you have the experiences that deserve to be brought to the table, be courageous and ask for it. Thanks.
Vraiment des panélistes super inspirantes et excellentes. On a 30 minutes nous reste. Our next speaker is Eric Nordal. Eric is joining us from the Wilmington Territory in Victoria, BC, where he was involved in the launch of the Retail Action Network, an organization that brings the fight for the workplace justice to the doorstep of bosses. The network engages in direct actions, creative protest, and legal advocacy to help non-unionized precarious workers in retail, food service, and hospitality get the wages and respect that they deserve. Welcome, Eric.
I'd just like to start off by saying that I'm very humbled and very honored to be on this panel and at this event with some talented activists and radical organizers. I'd also like to say thank you to the organizers and volunteers of this event that brought so many amazing folks into this room today. So thanks, everybody. I organize with a group called the Retail Action Network. We are a network of workers and labor activists that fight for increased wages, improved conditions, and workplace justice for retail, hospitality, and food service workers. We do our organizing on the West Coast in the Columbian Territory, a place often called Victoria, BC. For me, the vast majority of my working life has been spent in the service industry. Having started in retail and hospitality, I spent over a decade under the fluorescent lights in the aisles of Canadian Tire, sweating over the dish pit at the Keg Steakhouse, and serving cocktails and pints to the middle class at the local brew pubs. Having witnessed and experienced the shady conditions and complete lack of protection from exploitative bosses, these experiences pulled me into getting involved with the Retail Action Network, which launched in Victoria a year ago. Just to give you some context about place, Victoria is much like Ottawa, in the sense that both have a very distinct segment of the working population that exists solely for the purpose of feeding and entertaining the tourists and bureaucrats that populate the city. This sector of the workforce is commonly known as the service industry, and it's growing. Approximately 25% of the working population in BC are in this sector. These jobs are overwhelmingly precarious with low wages and very low union density. Much like other cities across this country, this industry is rife with abusive and exploitative employers. What I would like to talk about, though, is what we're doing to empower workers that are facing injustice at the workplace, and I'd like to outline this in explaining our unique version of worker solidarity. Through the Retail Action Network, we receive a number of calls every week from workers that are in a dispute with their boss that they aren't able to solve or don't feel comfortable solving on their own. We hear complaints not only about missing wages or withheld wages, but also complaints about harassment and intimidation. The current government process for dealing with these complaints is completely lacking in BC, and as of a decade ago, the Employment Standards Branch was all but gutted entirely, which has left workers to face these disputes without any support. As a response to this, what we're building into the Retail Action Network is a worker-led campaign model for taking on the boss. When a worker first comes to us with a complaint, we sit down and go through the demands that the worker has. The demand for justice sometimes involves wages or a written apology from management, or a change to workplace standards. Once this is determined, we deliver this demand letter to the boss, giving them 10 days for a response. Often the employer responds favorably, and we don't need to take any further action. However, when they don't respond is when we get to step up our actions and get creative. As an example of what this looks like, I want to tell you a quick story about a cafe in Victoria called Wild Coffee. Earlier this year, we had a barista contact us as they were taken off of the schedule by their manager without reason or notice, and were unable to get their last paycheck from them. That's a complaint that we hear actually more often than we should. As a result, though, this worker contacted us to help them out. After calculating the fact that this worker was also being paid below minimum wage for the 3 months prior, we totaled the amount owed by the employer close to $500, which at the end of the day is a significant portion of rent if you're living in Victoria. After attempts to resolve the issue over the phone and glad it didn't work, we decided to take further action and begin making it public. Beyond beginning a legal complaint with our legal advocate, Alyse, we gathered 40 of our friends and coworkers one afternoon and marched into the cafe. Here the worker read the demand letter out loud with the boss and cafe customers listening. While this definitely got the attention of the employer, they still refused to pay out any of the stolen wages. So we began picketing the cafe during lunch while potential customers walked by, letting them know that the cafe had been paying below minimum wage and was refusing to pay the wages that were owed. We did this for a few weeks, and still no response from the employer. At this point, we were feeling like we had to get a bit more creative, and so we set up a Justice Cafe in front of Wild Coffee. This was a lunchtime pop-up tea and coffee stand right outside the doors of the cafe, where not only were we still handing out info about the dispute, we were also selling tea by donation for the worker, and ended up raising half of the money that was owed. After 6 months, we ended up winning back the remaining wages plus more through the legal complaint that was filed. This campaign was won through a combined effort of taking public direct action and also winning a legal victory. Since then, we've heard that the employer is now paying their staff the legal required wage and paying them on time. Action Network, we're building strong relationships with workers' advocacy groups, labor unions, and even job placement and employee training centers to connect and support the entire workforce in Victoria that is being otherwise left without support. What this means is that with fairly little resources, we can help to organize a decentralized, grassroots, yet industry-wide movement. And this model seems to be working for us. At this point, with every complaint that we hear from workers, we take steps towards filing legal complaints, whether it is a human rights complaint or an employment standards complaint, organizing union drives by helping build an inside organizing committee, and building capacity to mobilize workers and activists locally through our direct action campaigns. The important and essential part of this is that we're creating a symbiotic or mutually beneficial relationship across organizations via these three avenues of taking action: legal complaints, union drives, and grassroots community organizing. As we've seen, these actions taken by themselves are much less effective in the precarious world that we're living in. But these actions taken together can be a powerful means for organizing and winning victories with and for workers in precarious conditions. That's some of the work that we do with Retail Action Networks.
Thank you very much, Eric. Really inspiring. Our next speaker is Michael Connolly. Michael, you may know, is a member of the Legislative Assembly for Calgary-Hawkwood in the first ever NDP government in Alberta. Michael is a passionate young leader and a proud Albertan who was born and raised in Calgary. He's one of the three first openly LGBTQ MLAs in Alberta and is a fierce advocate for LGBTQ rights. Before being elected, he studied history and political science at the University of Ottawa. Please welcome Michael Connolly.
Thank you very much, Craig, for that introduction. And thank you, Nikki, for inviting me here today. For those of you who don't know, I was fortunate enough to have the chance to volunteer in Nikki's office while I was attending the University of Ottawa. So if you want to become a millennial politician, that's a good place to start. So as was said, my name is Michael Connolly. I'm the NDP member of the Legislative Assembly for Calgary-Hawkwood. I'm the second youngest person ever elected to Alberta's legislature at the age of 21. And I am also one of the first three openly LGBTQ plus MLAs in Alberta. So just FYI, so the youngest person was 20, I'm 21. I was really angry. But he's trying to get on, he's Thomas Dang, he's Edmonton, so what? Great guy knows, yes. So I'm really glad to be here to talk to you about why who we elect matters. So when the NDP were first elected in Alberta, we had many critics, much as we now. However, back then, they were fixated on who we were rather than what we stood for. Even before the election, as I was a candidate, I had Ezra Levant making videos calling me the fetus candidate. But I did what Ezra couldn't do, and I got elected, so. But after the election, many people were worried. Only 4 of our 54-member caucus had ever been MLAs before, and another one had been elected but to a school board. Actually, 2 people had been to different school boards. And the rest of us were students, professors, social workers, nurses, teachers, doctors, steel workers, public servants, labor negotiators, activists, and a lot more. I would actually get so frustrated when people would tell me that our caucus didn't have enough parliamentary experience. I couldn't get my head around how in the hell people could believe that 87 straight white male lawyers could speak for a place as diverse as Alberta. Even now in our opposition benches, there are more men named Richard in the Progressive Conservative Caucus than there are women in the entire opposition, which comprises of 4 parties. Now I'm not saying our caucus is perfect, nor is it as diverse as it could be. But I'm incredibly proud that 47% of our caucus are women. That over 50% of our cabinet. We have 5 MLAs under the age of 25, the first 3 openly LGBTQ plus MLAs, the first 3 Hispanic MLAs, and the youngest caucus in the history of Alberta. Now this is one of our. It took many people, many find candidates who were from diverse backgrounds. But I promise you, our government, our caucus, and our province is stronger for it. We need to have more governments like Alberta's across this country. I'm not just saying that because it's NDP, but governments who know what it's like to live below the poverty line, who have had to fight the rising cost of tuition, who have been at the bargaining table, and who know how difficult it is to find reliable, affordable childcare. We need more governments who will work for and with the people they have sworn to represent. Because we have millennials in our caucus, we know how important it was to freeze tuition for 3 years, to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 per hour, to finally add gender identity and gender expression as prohibited grounds of discrimination in Alberta's Human Rights Act. And there is so much more we need to do to improve the situation for youth in Alberta. And without millennials in our government, we may not even be as far as we are now. We live in a representative democracy. Our government should reflect the diversity of the populations we seek to represent. I would encourage any and all of you who have ever thought about running for office to do so. Now, you don't need to wait if you don't want to. I promise you, you already know more than many people across the street. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. So last, but certainly not least, we have Alyse Stuart. Alyse is on the communications team for Common Front NL, which is a broad-based coalition of labor, social justice, community groups in Newfoundland and Labrador. She's the membership and communications coordinator for the Memorial University Faculty Association in St. John's, and has completed her master's in gender studies. Welcome, Alyse.
First, I would like to thank Nakitsas for hosting this amazing event and for having somebody all the way from Newfoundland and Labrador here. It's a bit of a trot. So I also want to thank all the panelists that have been up here and just filling this huge room with like truth and accountability because it was amazing to be a part of. And I'm here on behalf of Common Front NL, which, as Craig said, it is a broad-based community organization along with labor folks. We have social justice, community groups, and just concerned citizens that want to be a part of something. We represent about 100,000 residents of Newfoundland and Labrador, which is amazing. And just a little background about Newfoundland and Labrador, since I had, I know some people here might not be familiar, and maybe thinking stereotypes like there's all codfish, we do shots all the time. Which naturally, we just do shots some of the time. So Newfoundland and Labrador is a huge geographic space. So even to go from St. John's to the other side of Newfoundland, it's like a 10-hour drive. To go from St. John's to Labrador, you have to fly, and it's a $1,000 flight. So in our own province, it's $1,000 to get from the south part to the top. So it's crazy. And along with these geographic issues, we are a mostly rural area. So besides St. John's, Corner Brook, Meander, it's just tiny little outdoor communities with not a lot of folks. That also means there aren't a lot of jobs, and it's really hard to get in and out of these communities. So there's a big infrastructure commitment to these places, and an aging demographic, which is kind of the other big thing that Newfoundland and Labrador is facing right now is a demographic shift, which is pretty common, I would say, throughout the Atlantic provinces. We have a lot of our young folks moving to get better jobs, moving to Toronto, moving to Alberta, and that's really hard on our economy. So Common Front NL kind of came about because last year we elected a Liberal government, predominantly Liberal government, because we ousted the predominantly Conservative government, and we're like, oh, we figured it out, we'll get all the Liberals in. And that didn't work as well as I'm sure many folks had hoped. So when the Liberal government kind of came in, they made a bunch of promises, but then once it came time to actually address those things, we started to get a lot of doom and gloom. So it was, well, it's a lot worse than we thought it was going to be. Oh, did we say that? I think it's going to be a lot harder than we anticipated. So we, as Federation Labor, kind of started this, the Newfoundland Federation Labor, and brought a lot of folks together that were interested in saying, okay, we've got a budget coming. We know it's going to be bad. They're giving us a lot of hints about how that it's going to be. And we started thinking about how we were going to address this tough budget, which is a thinly veiled way of saying an austerity budget, and we kind of called on that pretty quick. So at the first meetings, we were just trying to bring people together. So it started with the Federation of Labor, but I mean, I became involved as a MUMFA kind of affiliate, which is the Faculty Association. We had NATE, which is the public union there, QP, we had lots of QP folks, and again, just concerned citizens. And we brought people together to talk about what they were afraid of. They wanted to talk about all the elephants in the room. What are you scared of? What is it that you want from this government? You know, and we encouraged them to not be afraid and to let everybody know what they wanted from the government. And from these meetings, we had a lot of interest, we had a lot of participation, and then we kind of had to figure out how to go to the next step. So we know we have folks interested, what do we do next? So, Common Front was created from these meetings, and formally Common Front NL, after those meetings, began preparing for the austerity budget. So we began preparing with people, you know, getting boots on the ground, getting folks talking about this possible austerity budget. And we started doing research, or getting research from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. And we made sure that that research included a gender lens, which was definitely missing from a lot of research we had seen. And to be honest, we started getting out there and getting people riled up and getting them mad and telling them that it's good to be mad. And for Newfoundlanders, let me tell you, they don't mind being mad. It's not stressful for them. But they also wanted to be mad with a purpose, so we gave them that purpose. You know, come out, support us. Let's see what we can do about this. So the government actually agreed to meet with us and some of our labor representatives and to talk about our goals and, you know, to tell us everything was going to be okay. They had it covered. So we talked to them about our missions, which were we wanted to ensure that the public service was protected, that we had a strong public service, because we know that strong public service does trickle down into the private sector. Because if folks don't have money to spend, they don't spend it in small businesses. So we wanted to protect the small business as well. We talked about quality, accessible public health care and education. We talked about having a progressive and fair tax structure. We got some slack, I would say, from the Twitterverse, if you will, that group, they just want to make sure, like, they don't want any taxes. What are we going to do? We need to have taxes. And we're like, no. We agree that you should have taxes, but tax in a good way, tax in a progressive way. Tax so that people that are vulnerable don't get abused by the tax system. And we talked about having a diverse economy that supports rural Newfoundland and Labrador. So again, like I said, it's a hard geographic space to deal with, but we want to make sure that those rural outpoor communities have something they're proud of. It's something that means something, you know, it really reflects their values, whether it's the shrimp fishery or whether it's bringing back the cod fishery, whatever it needed to be, we wanted it to be addressed. So pretty much we did all the work for them of how to solve their problems, and we showed them how to do it without an austerity budget. And they said they were listening, but then came the budget. Spoiler alert, they didn't listen to anything we had to say. And as suspected, we got the austerity budget. So with this budget came the deficit levy. So everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador had to pay money to deal with the deficit, which, you know, is one thing, but it was actually a regressive tax structure. Folks that were making $20,000 or folks that were making $50,000 were paying the same $100 fee, which for somebody making $20,000, that's a lot of money. So people got really upset. So we already had that groundswell, so we kind of just stirred the pot a little bit more. And they also introduced a lot of cuts, as austerity budgets do, including in a province that has one of the lowest literacy rates in Canada, they cut a bunch of libraries. And they taxed books. So the logic there, you can tell me where it is, I certainly can find it. But again, Common Front NL was ready. We knew this was coming. We had the research to defeat this austerity budget. And we kind of rallied all the people that we had already been shaking up. And on May 7th, we helped mobilize NL Rising, which was on a sunny Saturday, which in St. John's is very rare to have a sunny Saturday, but we had a sunny Saturday. And this event, we were amazed at how many people showed up. So we had everybody marching at the Confed building, which is on a hill. And I remember showing up, I walked in with a cute family, and there was just like these trails of people marching and flags raised, like old people, young people, people in strollers. It was amazing. And on the way up to the hill, there was so much conversation happening. And it was a little bit like this hour is 22 minutes at times because our premier's last name is Ball. So there was lots of plays on his last name, but that's all right. So we did comedy on the way up. And this event, I think, proved to the government what we had been saying, is that we're not going to accept this. We're not going to be okay with an austerity budget. It's not the answer. We do have answers, and you're not listening. So it showed that people had power, even folks that were maybe a little hesitant about thinking it was just a labor thing, they came out, and it was amazing. And after that, the levy was changed, which we totally credit to that. So the levy was changed to be more progressive. So it was a great win. And it was a solidarity that between unions and between labor and between community groups and between just the citizens that were concerned, that showed that we do have power and we can do things, even though you feel like your voice doesn't matter sometimes. It really did in that instance. And the fight is certainly not over. We still have a lot that keeps coming down from the government. We actually have a fiscal update coming on the 28th, which I'm sure will be just another one packed full of rainbows and all the things they're going to fix. And today, Common Front, we continue to do town halls, so we visit all these rural outpost communities, which feel cut off a lot of the time. We make sure that we're doing forums, we make sure that we're keeping our voice out there and reminding Newfoundland and Labradorians that we're not going away, and neither should you. We need to keep fighting, and we won't stop doing that. And we kind of believe, Common Front NL, that we can create a stronger economy that addresses those key points and make sure that nobody's left behind. Because we are sick of having our youth move away, we are sick of having our old folks feel like they don't matter, and we are sick of having an economy that does not help women, but kind of puts us down much more. And we want an economy where precarious work is not accepted as a way to churn out more youth workers. And we understand that, Newfoundland and Labradorians are certainly not afraid to have a good time, but we're also not afraid to resist a negligent government that won't listen. And instead, we just continue to talk louder. And let me tell you, we can get really, really loud. So please follow us. We are #WeAreNL at Common Front NL. We have a website, we have a Facebook page, and we would love all your cross-Canada support. So get at us.
Super panel, des gens intéressants, des militants populaires, des gens du monde communautaire, des militants organisateurs, les gens du milieu politique aussi. What an amazing panel, guys. We'll give another round of applause. I'd like to thank Nikki Ashton and her team for this amazing